Good evening. Welcome to Prime Business. I am Emma Davis. Tonight on Prime Business, Ghana has signed an agreement with Benin to aid mobile roaming services between the two countries from 1st July 2024. The pact is to help implement regulations on roaming for mobile communications within the ECOWAS region. It is also expected to help the mobile operators within the two countries to work on this free roaming initiative. Professor Asa Osei Boating is the Deputy Director General of the National Communications Authority in charge of technical operations.
ECOWAS Free Roaming Initiative, which was initiated by the ministers, the ICT telecommunications ministers of the ECOWAS nations, was kickstarted with bilateral between any of the ECOWAS entities, regulators. So we initiated one last year in June between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire, and just the past week and a half, we initiated an MOU with Benin, with ASEP of Benin. We've also done MOU with that of Togo, which also we are looking forward to launching it. So the Cotonou one, the Benin one, is slated for July 1st to go live. Normally, we go with the operators. So when we went to Benin, we were there with MTN, AT, and Telecel. So the agreement is also, there's a bilateral signed amongst the operators. So we have one that is usually executed between the national regulators authorities, the NRAs, and then also the operators would also execute one amongst themselves. So they were there, we had technical sessions where they agree upon the way to interconnect with each other and to execute this. So after this MOU was executed, we've set up some technical committee that would continue to facilitate the agreement to see it to fruition by July 1st.
Now, news coming in is that the Finance Ministry has announced Madame Julie Essiem as a new Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. She takes over from Reverend Amishadai Osuamwa, whose contract was extended earlier this month. Let's get more on the new appointment from my colleague, George Yafe. Thank you very much for joining us, George. Can you give us more details and the other three appointments?
So let's first start with Madame Essiem, and for those who have been following developments at the Ghana Revenue Authority, that is, she's currently, or she was until this appointment, the Deputy Commissioner in charge of support services. Now, following the exit of the previous or the immediate Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Madame Essiem has taken over as the new Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and she was previously the Commissioner in charge of support services. We also had some three other appointments that has been made by the Ministry of Finance. We had the current, until her appointment, she was a Deputy Director General at Senate in charge of operations. That is Madame Pearl Darko. She's coming in as the Deputy Commissioner in charge of support services. This is more of a Director of HR, Commissioner HR, and other related administrative staff at the Ghana Revenue Authority. She would be in charge of that one. And there's a statement that the ministry actually issued, and they gave the chronology of the names as well. You also have Mr. Jamra, who is currently, and that is the picture of the new Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And if you go through the statement, you see that Mr. Jamra, who is currently in charge of domestic support services or domestic revenue mobilization, will still be in charge of that position. And Madame Pearl Darko, coming in from SNET, Deputy Director General there, she's coming as Deputy Commissioner in charge of support services. And also the Customs wing or the Customs Department, if I should say, or the Customs Agency under the Ghana Revenue Authority also has a new person in, more Brigadier General coming in to head that institution, Emma.
So when will their appointments take effect?
From the statement, it appears it takes immediate effect. And if you realize that they're already working at the Ghana Revenue Authority trying to put things in place to ensure that things are done well.
What next?
What next is that it appears that still the drive will be on raising more revenue or meeting their revenue target. So if you realize that behind the scenes, there are still work going on to ensure that the target that was set out in the budget with respect to the Ghana Revenue Authority's budget is still going to press ahead. We want to see more continuation of policy because unlike other agencies, the Ghana Revenue Authority specifically focuses on the direction from the Ministry of Finance. So nothing much will change. It might just be the individual touch in terms of how things should be done in mobilizing revenue in the country.
Thank you very much, George, for the update. Moving on, the Bank of Ghana has refuted assertions that the Gold for Oil program has negatively affected the operations of small-scale miners. According to Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, the program cannot be attributed to the dwindling level of gold exports because the program began in November 2022. He made this known when he appeared before the Public Accounts Committee.
Factors that account for, the production levels of the various mining companies. I know some of them have shut down Obuasi and a couple of other challenges that they had. But again, remember that in 2022, we had just started the gold program. So this was very late in 2022, around November. So our activities have nothing to do with the lower level of gold exports in 2022.
But interestingly, the auditors are rather saying that this was because of policy changes at the Bank of Ghana.
Well, but
they are rather pinning it down to your policy changes. So I was rather hoping that the transactions would have ballooned.
Right. They got it wrong. I disagree with them, if that's what they wrote. Yeah. I disagree with that because we had just started the program late in the year. It couldn't have been the case that the gold for reserves affected that.
Still, the Public Accounts Committee, Dr. Ernest Addison, stated that the economy is showing signs of stability based on reforms undertaken by government, supported by donors. He maintained his belief that things will normalize soon.
The economy as a whole, I can tell you that things are improving. Our foreign exchange reserve levels are improving. Recently, the World Bank, thanks to the members of parliament, approved a facility. So we have had $300 million added to our reserves. All of that, strengthens our position to support you in executing these types of projects. So rest assured that so long as the economy continues on the path that we are on, we should be able to help you deliver.
World Bank is asking government to focus on fiscal reforms that have helped in growing the economy post-COVID-19. The advice comes after the World Bank projected that Ghana will end the year with a growth rate of almost 3%. This is a little higher than what government is expecting to achieve this year, as captured in the 2024 budget. Here is World Bank Chief Economist Dr. Andrew Dublin.
The threats are they're both domestic and they're external. So domestic threats are the ones I've just mentioned, right? The real fear of policy slippage. Okay, that's not a trivial issue, and I hope that the government of Ghana will remain focused on bringing stability back to the macroeconomy. So the failure to come through with the reforms, right, such as we've talked about, bringing inflation down for and then making sure that they met revenue and spending targets that they have committed to in order to be able to meet that. So that's the risk at the domestic level. At the international level, it's the risk that there's going to be underperformance of the economies of major trading partners. and that will weigh down on economic activity. So that's one possibility. Well, the other possibility is the failure to conclude the agreement with the official and private external credit committees, right? So that also will create a lot of risks, and will undermine confidence and therefore depress investments from flowing into the country. And then you never know, but there could be major disruption to trade and global supply chains for many ongoing geopolitical tensions. And then if high interest rates at the rich countries remain, then you end up with capital flight, currency depreciation, persistent inflation, and then lower consumption and investments, and so that too will weigh down on economic activity.
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Patrick Esuming says he expects policy slippages this election year, although Ghana is under an IMF program. According to him, government is likely to overspend in fixing long-term infrastructure challenges, which will be beneficial to the economy.
I'm actually expecting that the threat will actually materialize. I think, so we've gone through this for a long time. Even though we get promises upon promises that we will overspend, I think the incentive to overspend is extremely strong, and I don't think the controls to prevent overspending is enough. We are hoping that we might be able to get the fiscal council in place and all, but we know how things work in this country. We might put the laws in place and we find the ways around it. So I am actually expecting that the policy slippages will actually happen. It's just a matter of extent, and then you just hope that the extra budgetary spending is committed to things that will have a long-term value, especially if that went to fixing our energy problems, we won't complain too much, or if that went to fixing some of our infrastructure, which is beginning to deteriorate, that won't hurt too much. Right? If a lot of people go to spending, then the real troubles will begin after the election year.
Away from the fiscals, stakeholders within the pharmaceutical industry have been mourning the increase in imports of medical devices, disposables, and equipment used in Ghana. They are calling on government to further reduce import duties and support the quest to manufacture some of the equipment locally. Anthony Amaka is Chief Executive Officer of the Federation of African Medical Equipment, Disposables and Devices Manufacturers and Suppliers.
The stakeholders say medical devices constitute the largest product area, accounting for over 60% of all importations within the health sector. Mr. Ameka indicated that globally the medical device industry is poised for steady growth, with global annual sales forecast to rise by over 5% a year and reach nearly $800 billion by 2030.
About 98% of medical devices and equipment currently that is being used in the country are all imported, and that raises a concern. So there was an engagement with the government, and as a result, in the last budget that was presented to Parliament, the government is waiving the import taxes and also VAT on imported medical devices and equipment, so as to make it more accessible and affordable in the country. We are still running the 98% import into the country. We don't have much improvement in terms of local production.
The third edition of the Pharmaceutical, Medical and Healthcare Exhibition in Ghana, West African Pharma Healthcare Expo, will be organized from the 8th to the 10th of May 2024 in Accra.
Deputy Transport Minister Hassan Tampoli has dismissed rumors of an increase in petrol price to 17 cedis per litre in the coming weeks. He told Joy Business Ghana can boast of having the lowest fuel prices in the West African region.
I don't know where these fuel prices are going through the roof is coming from. Don't forget, in this country, fuel prices have gone way up to 23 Ghana cedis before. Now, at the time that the fuel prices were 23 Ghana cedis, the lorry fares were even lower than they are right now. So I'm not sure whether there is need to panic about increase in lorry fares. This current pricing window, petrol was supposed to go up by about 3% and diesel for about 1%. So I'm not sure there is need to panic because there's no need. And the price of petroleum product is done transparently. You don't need to even wait for MPA to announce. You can check it up on your own. There are websites that will give you prices of petroleum products and you can compare with Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, La Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso. You can always compare and you recognize that ours is not the highest. Ours is by far one of the least in the West African sub-region. So there's no need to worry about this.
MTN Ghana has donated 20,000 cedis and some assorted items to the National Chief Imam, Dr. Sheikh Usmanu Nuhu Shaributu, ahead of celebrating this year's Eid al-Fitr. According to the Senior Manager for Customer Relations and Credit Management, Salihu Abu, the gesture is aimed at deepening relations with the Muslim community.
As part of this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration, has donated a cash prize of 20,000 Ghana cedis and some food items to the National Chief Imam. The items included bags of rice, cartons of vegetable oil, packs of mineral water, and other items. According to Senior Manager for Customer Relations and Credit Management at MTN, Salihu Abu, the gesture is to support the Muslim community as they celebrate this year's festivities.
This morning, as custom demands, we are here to present our donation to the Office of the National Chief Imam to support in giving good, food to members of the community so that they can also celebrate Eid al-Fitr well. Now, this year's donation, as you all may be aware, is quite different because earlier, some couple of weeks ago, His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, lost his beloved wife. So we shared our management's condolences to the Office of the National Chief Imam and made our commitments that during the 40th day at Dua, which is the prayer session, MTN would also come and commiserate with the Office of His Eminence.
MTN also pledged to set up stands at vantage points to provide customers with enhanced customer service during the celebration.
Professor from the School of Engineering at KNUST, Professor Abdul Rahman Ahmed, has advised Muslims to use their time wisely to earn money that can be used to support those in need. Speaking to members of the Muslim Professionals Association in Kumasi during an iftar gathering where Muslims break their fast, Professor Ahmed stresses the significance of employing people and paying them, thereby facilitating the redistribution of wealth to those who lack it. Mahmoud Mohammed has more.
We only speak about it in blameworthy terms when there is no such foundational intention for the pursuit of wealth.
Professor Ahmed exploits the concept of al-baraka, distinguishing between a blessed life and a successful one. He says that money held in bank accounts remains insignificant until it is invested wisely.
Money is only useful to the extent that you use it. If you use it to buy something or you use it to help someone, then it becomes useful. If it is there in your bank account, I have bankers here, I should be careful how I express some of these terms. Now, they are just numbers. So the day you die, you just die and left numbers behind. Really, not money.
According to Professor Ahmed, money loses its worth if it is not used for benevolent purposes, citing instances where wealthy people struggle to assist others.
You have money in your pocket and someone approaches you and he needs a little help, and the first inclination in you is that, don't give. And then you obey this dictate of your nafs and you don't give. Why? Why is that the case?
Treasurer of the Muslim Professional Association, Rabiatu Kamal, regards Professor Ahmed's advice as a compelling wake-up call. She believes his insights will serve as inspiration for their community to contribute more generously and to express gratitude for the blessings bestowed on them by Allah.
I think what the professor has said is just a wake-up call to us, and the fact that when we make money, we should try as much as possible to also give out. So I quite remember sometimes you see that the love for money prevents us from giving. But as he said, if you don't give, it's you don't appreciate what Allah has given you, because in most instances we serve as a channel. When Allah has given you the money, you are just a channel to give the money out. By the channel, it means giving out for those who do not have, or for projects that will help the community.
Both the president of the association, Dr. Abdul Samad Muntaka, and Secretary Alhaji Muhammad Nasir Ibrahim stressed the importance of ethical wealth accumulation. Dr. Muntaka emphasizes that while making money is crucial, it should never involve dubious methods like cheating.
Making wealth, in my opinion, is good. But how do you make the wealth? Do you make the wealth by cheating? Do you make the wealth by going for anything? I mean, cocaine dealing is easy. It is the quickest way to get money. Doing rituals is a quick way to get money. But what is the end of it? At the end of the day, are you looking for salvation or you are looking for wealth? The life of this world is short. Nobody knows when they will die. It is better to go for wealth that you have earned it through the legal Islamic means than to go for wealth that you have earned through on orthodox ways that will only buy you trouble with Allah thereafter. So our speaker was drawing our mind to the fact that yes, it's good to go for wealth, but we should always seek for the barakah, which is the blessing behind the wealth.
Alhaji Ibrahim urges Muslims to spend their hard-earned money wisely, emphasizing that legitimate earnings are the foundation for giving back to community and positively impacting those connected to them.
In order not to be a good Muslim, even when you abide by the Islamic principles to earn the resources and the wealth, you should also have the intention of spending it in the right way to help others in the community, so that Allah will also be happy with you, and then you can benefit from that in this earth and in the next life.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Stay a little longer in the region as the Kumasi Central Market and Second-Hand Clothes Traders Union is threatening to embark on a 5-day continuous protest if work is not resumed on the second phase of the KJTR Development Project. The project was halted in December 2022 when the construction firm working on the project constructor discontinued works on the site, leaving the skeleton of the structure on the site. There's more in this report.
According to the traders, they were informed the country's debt restructuring program with the IMF was the reason for the halt. The government had assured to resume construction after the country received its first tranche of the $3 billion IMF bailout. But the project continues to sit in weeds with reptiles as the new occupants.
The market has been a source of livelihood for all, from our grandparents to this day. We have incurred a lot of losses due to the redevelopment project. People hardly come here to buy from us. The government must resume work at KJTR soon.
The traders argue majority of their colleagues are currently home without trade after they were evacuated to pave way for the construction, while others struggle to find space at the Central Business District to ply their wares.
Because of Central Market and then so no don't want to stroke them. Me am no more kasa CCN. Matena fie best 1.5 years.
A lot of people died and others are home. Myself, I stayed home for close to 1.5 years. If the government doesn't resume work at the Central Market, we will stage a 5-day protest.
Yeah, mano, and nakakra bi. So I'm start Central Market. My yen. A demonstration 5 days. Ye need ye mfa bibi enso ano.
The traders say they are working to secure a permit from the police to embark on their intended action to drum home their demands. According to them, this is just a caveat to the ruling New Patriotic Party and the government to commence works and complete the project.
Nobody comes to the racecourse markets to buy from us. A lot of people are by the roadside. They must complete the market soon.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright.
On that note, we end Prime Business with me, Emma Davis. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Good evening.